Welcome to Volume 2 of Views from the MontyVerse. We are here to talk the latest nerd news. I am your host, Monty. I'm here with my co-host, Zach McDonald. Zach, how you doing today, bud?
Excited for another episode here. Lots of good things to talk about, so can't wait to get into it.
Lots of good things. And we got two great guests today. We have a returning guest, Mr. John Lestrina. John, how you doing, bud?
Hello. How are you fellas?
We're doing great. And that's such a great shirt because our next guest is Mr. Dan Bettenhausen. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Wow. And John. Hi, John. Hi, John. But hi, everyone else, too.
Hi, Dan.
How is everyone doing? I am well.
Oh, we're doing great. It's going to be a great show today, guys. All right. So first up, I want to talk about Black Widow. This movie is coming out this week. It's coming out Friday, Thursday in certain theaters, Friday on Disney Plus Premier Access, buy it at home. It is the first MCU movie to hit theaters since July of 2019, believe it or not. The last movie that was in theaters from the MCU was Spider-Man Far From Home. And basically, I just kind of want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the movie. Are you excited about it? Are you excited to have the MCU back in theaters? What are you looking forward to most about the movie? And really, what your thoughts are on it?
So this one for me, I'm not a huge MCU guy, but this one seems like it's going to be kind of right in the sweet spot for me as far as the types of MCU movies that I enjoy. Something that's going to be heavy on the action, pretty self-contained. I watched the trailer again today, and I saw it when I was watching F9 a couple times over the past week. And it looks pretty fucking sick, if I'm being honest. I don't really know any of the background of these characters or who the villain is or anything like that, but the style of action, the premise seems pretty cool. It reminds me a lot of like the Bourne series for some reason. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, I think if we hadn't been getting all the Disney Plus stuff, yes, it would have been great to have Marvel back in our lives, but Black Widow's never been one of my favorites. I think Scarlett Johansson's been great in the role, but I think what I'm looking forward to most is how this prequel will advance the future of the MCU, whether it's Florence Pugh or anything else that hasn't been hinted at in the trailers. I think that's what I'm looking forward to most, is where this fits in, not just as a prequel, but what's dropped in the film that will expand the MCU.
This is an interesting one in terms of just when it's coming out, where it's fitting into the timeline, being set after Civil War.
Yeah.
So now, last time we saw, obviously, Black Widow she sacrificed herself and presumably died. So it's now going back X amount of years later, obviously COVID and everything. But it seems weird for it to fit in now. So I'm looking to see how it's really going to fit into the larger scope of the MCU. Like, why are we getting this movie now instead of maybe in 2017 or even 2018 leading up to like Endgame? But definitely excited to see some characters. Definitely excited to see Taskmaster. Last time, I saw him was in the Spider-Man PS4 game. It was really cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing him live action on screen in a movie, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think, Dan brought up a really great point, and we've kind of been spoiled a little bit by the Disney Plus series, because it doesn't really have the same impact, this movie. And it's actually a combination of things that Dan and John said, because one, we've had all these great series from Disney Plus that they've been hitting out of the park, but at the same time, this is a weird continuity hole for the MCU, because it does take place right after Civil War. We kind of already know what happens to Natasha. So really, takes a lot of the tension away right off the bat from the film, because you already kind of know what's going to happen for the most part with the main character. So basically, you're really going to go see this for the ancillary characters like Red Guardian or Yelena Belova or Taskmaster. And those are characters I'm really excited to see. Taskmaster in the comic books is an amazing villain. I really hope they don't water him or her down for the MCU. I really hope we get a somewhat accurate version of that character, because I think it could be an amazing villain. But at the same time, I think this movie is just in such a weird like limbo period in the continuity.
Well, one thing that I find interesting is so much of the Marvel formula is that you introduce things and you sort of tease. Every movie sort of works as a movie, but then it also works as a teaser for sort of something else that is upcoming.
Yeah.
So this one being a prequel, two being about a character that we already know sort of what her sort of fate is. I'm curious to see whether this sort of follows that same template, and if it does, how it manages to do that, in a way that makes sense and gives us something to anticipate.
So I want to touch on two things. One, first, what Monty said about Taskmaster, is in my head. If I were a betting man, I have some concerns that it's going to be old Marvel formula, because people have been clamoring for a Black Widow film so long. We're going to get that old focus on the heroes and maybe have not quite as interesting or as much deference done to the villain. And I have some concerns that Taskmaster is not going to live up to a lot of people's expectations. I hope I'm wrong, but that is my gut right now. And to Zach's point, I think really what's going to be set up is Florence Pugh. I think she is going to take on the mantle of some sort of Black Widow or some sort of Black Widow-esque character going forward, and she's going to be essentially that foil going down the line in the MCU, and that's what's going to essentially be set up in this film, is Florence Pugh and her spot in the MCU.
So are you thinking she'll be sort of like reintroduced in a later movie as maybe like a secondary antagonist or something like that?
No, I think she's just going to be brought in somehow. Like, she's like, oh, you were Natasha's sister. We need someone with your skill set to come in.
Oh,
take
okay.
on what your sister had done.
If I was a betting man, I'd say we could see her as soon as Hawkeye, as soon as the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. I think that would be the smartest next place to see her, especially because they seem to be a through line that we already started somewhat, is kind of like Val building this darker version of the Avengers. So she already has her Captain America and US Agent. So we know that we're getting a kind of secondary Black Widow in Yelena. So it'd be interesting to see if Val does show up to try and recruit her in that movie, because rumor has it that Val will appear at some point in the Black Widow movie. So right. Val, of course, being played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So what do you guys think? Are you guys going to be watching Black Widow this Friday, or are you going to wait a little bit?
I'll probably go see it opening night. I like to go to the movies, so not because I'm like clamoring to see it, but I think in the spoiler world that we live in now, I probably just want to get it out of the way as fast as I can. One, so I don't get spoiled, and two, so that I can be part of the spoiler conversations that are going to happen immediately after it's released. So,
yeah, I'll see it sometime this weekend. Just time depending, work, life, and such. Just really earliest opportunity. I won't make it necessarily a priority and move other things around if I have other stuff going on that takes precedent, but I'm sure I will see it at some point this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully Friday night or Saturday night. Hopefully, if not, sometime next week when I have time. But I'm definitely going to see it, because again, you want to be part of that conversation as early as possible and avoid any sort of big spoilers. Hopefully, people will be good and not just say, "Oh my God, did you see X so and so coming out?" It's like, okay, can you at least wait? Like, it's even like with Infinity War and Endgame, like they said, hey, you got like 1 or 2 weeks or whatever to see it, and then you can start spoiling it. So hopefully people will be good and just, wait.
Yeah, and you all brought up a good point. You all said that you want to see it this weekend because you want to be a part of the conversation. And that's kind of what the MCU has built over these past, decade and a half. They've built this, you need to see it opening weekend because everyone's going to be talking about it. It's become sort of an event, like a cultural event. And that's neat. But I will definitely be watching it this weekend at some point, if not right as soon as it's available on Disney Plus. But moving on to our next topic, we got a first look at the newest Star Wars series, Star Wars Visions, and this first look was incredible. It blew me out of the water. It sold the series instantly for me. So just to give you guys a quick rundown, it is a upcoming animated anthology series that will premiere on Disney Plus on September 22nd. It will consist of 9 anime-inspired short films produced by 7 different anime studios, with different filmmakers from each studio, all hardcore Star Wars fans. Now, did you all of you guys get a chance to look at the trailer? And what did you think? Because personally, it was phenomenal. It blew me away.
Same. I'm totally hyped for this. I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm not a big anime guy. I am a huge Star Wars guy, though. And yeah, kind of same deal. I was blown away by it. It looks incredible. I love the idea of bringing these Japanese influences, just like really putting them at the forefront, because they've had such a big influence on Star Wars from the beginning. But it's always kind of been more referential, and to see it just sort of be sort of the prime operative here is pretty exciting. And I mean, it looks cool. And I love the idea that it's an anthology too, or it's an anthology series. So it's just 9 totally unique stories. We get a lot of variety, a great blend. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing about the anthology series is that I'm sure there will be some that I like more than others. Like any of the animated shows or just the movies, there's stuff I like more. So I'm like that this is providing a variety, and that it'll be part of like going back to the conversation, be like, which one did you like more? And it'll be interesting to see what Zach's views are and John's and yours, Monty's, compared to mine on which of the anthology we liked more, because we all have different tastes and interests and things that influence how we consume things. So to have this anthology series that dives into the anime realm, I think is super interesting. And I'm glad they're doing it this way. One quick question: do we know if they're all being released at the same time, or if it's going to be weekly, like The Mandalorian had been, Bad Batch had been, or
going through my notes, it does not say whether or not they will be released all at the same time. I'm assuming they're going to be releasing them one at a time. That's how I would view it, just so that you really get a chance to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because these things are going to be, just from the looks of the trailer, these things are going to be absolutely gorgeous. And it would probably be the smarter decision to release them one at a time if I was a betting man, as opposed to all at once.
Yeah, and to Dan, you touched on it briefly there, to the previous point about the Marvel movies, the conversation. They want to make sure, I'm pretty sure, that as these are being released, everyone's talking about sort of the same thing at the same time. If you release all 9 at once, there's maybe too much overlap. It gets spread a little thin. Now, I don't know for sure, but that would be my expectation, is that they release them weekly.
I would imagine they would do it one and that next week the other, just because, again, working with different studios, different teams, you want them, they're obviously being anthology, having different teams, you want them to be able to, I guess, have their moment to highlight and show off, which I think is a good idea, that they're going to different studios, different teams, to let them work on what they kind of want, are passionate in terms of their story or their episode, to grow it and do what they want to do to really show their passion and make it the best that they can. And then who knows, could open up more projects for them, future ideas, and to go off into other aspects of Star Wars, which is also in novels, comics, games, besides film and television.
The anime genre is such a great platform for a media like Star Wars to utilize finally, because it has so many unique voices, and it's such a beautiful form of storytelling. I mean, there's an episode that there's going to be part of this called Tatooine Rhapsody from Studio Colorido, and it's going to be a Star Wars rock opera, and it will revolve around a band trying to make it big, and that just seems so exciting to me. And on top of that, you have like these existing concepts already, like I believe one is going to be about Jedi and Sith samurais within a samurai type culture involved in battle, as well as one with twins born on different sides of the Force, struggling with each other. There's even going to be an Astro Boy influenced episode with a young droid who's aspires to become a Jedi. And those concepts to me are so radically different, but so exciting, and the possibilities that they bring, especially in the anime format.
Yeah, something that gets talked about all the time with Star Wars, like normally the first question people ask when there's a new Star Wars project is, when does it take place, right? Like probably more importantly than where or who, it's normally when. People want to know sort of in the canon, where does everything fall? So I'm actually really excited to see sort of where they take us in the timeline with these, because with 9 unique stories or individual stories, it's like we could go all over the place here. And I think that could be a lot of fun and sort of very quickly expanding the timeline in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I think out of all of these, I think only the Tatooine Rhapsody one will feature existing characters like Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt. I think the rest of them are going to be like completely separate from all continuity. It looks like there might even be some set in the High Republic era based on outfits, Jedi outfits. But yeah, like you said, I'm excited to see where exactly, like what different parts of the Star Wars universe they'll actually be able to tackle. Because it's time for us to explore. It's time for us to get out of that comfort zone, that 9 movie comfort zone that we've been in, and just explore the timeline a lot more aggressively.
Yep.
And it just goes to show again that the animation side of Star Wars is some of the most ambitious.
Yeah.
Like though a lot of the Filoni stuff does have episodes that are certainly aimed for kids, which is understandably so. I mean, Star Wars was made for kids, and now the kids who grew up with them are adults, so it's wide breadth of fans here. But to be able to, like, some of the stuff they did in Rebels and Clone Wars and now Visions and what we still have to see in Bad Batch, like, animation has so much more freedom than I think the movies have been either given or maybe afraid to explore. Just give me more Star Wars animation, because they're not afraid to swing for the fences.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the Japanese influence in these pictures. It's absolutely stunning, and I'm so excited to see that explored in this medium, because I think it's just time. It's finally time that Star Wars kind of dipped their toe into anime officially, and yeah, like this, like these just these are stunning. These absolutely gorgeous. So what do you think, guys? Any final thoughts on Star Wars Visions? I'm excited. I think that this is going to be a home run for Star Wars.
I'm counting down the days. And it's soon. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's coming up quick.
September 22nd.
Yeah. So that's really exciting.
You know, the one little thing that just from the initial looks that we've gotten that I'm not seeing that I kind of hope we do is some sort of space battle, like something taken with fighters. Because like in a lot of anime, you have like mech fighting and all this like stuff in space are such a big deal. So to see that influence in a big aspect of Star Wars regarding dogfighting and whatnot, I hope we see. Haven't really seen it in the first looks, but that would be something that would really shoot to the top of my list of interests of the vignettes that I hope we get.
Yeah, and that's just something I would love to see more in Star Wars in general. I would love to see more just dog fighting. I would love to see more, complex lightsaber battles instead of the stuff that we've seen in the trilogy movies, in the saga movies. But yeah, I agree. I think that this is. I think we're going to see a lot of new and different things in Star Wars Visions. Okay, but moving on from there, Spider-Man: No Way Home. We have not gotten any official media from this movie, but somehow last week we were given photos of the new Funko releases from this film, and these Funkos, they tell a little bit of a story, not much, but there's definitely something there. For one, it's 100% confirming that Dr. Stephen Strange is in this movie, and he's going to be having a more casual look, potentially in a snowy environment. But it's definitely intriguing to see Doctor Strange like this, because this is a Stephen Strange we haven't seen before. Some sort of cold weather attire, as well as two new Spider-Man suits in the integrated suit, as they're calling it, which appears to have some sort of magic integrated into the suit, which I'm assuming is how it got its name. It looks like a newer version of the Iron Spider suit from Infinity War. But these definitely look like Doctor Strange's kind of sigil things that he uses on his hands on Peter's suit, and as well as a new black Spider-Man suit with looks to be some new technological devices on his wrist where his web shooters are. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the new Spider-Man suits? What do you guys think about this movie? We're not really getting much. The movie comes out in a couple of months, and we haven't even gotten a trailer yet. So, what are your thoughts?
So, as far as the movie goes, I'm not sure what to think. I loved Homecoming. I despised Far From Home. So, like, the Spider-Man franchise with the MCU has been real hit or miss for me. As far as the costumes go, is Spider-Man just becoming sort of like the combination of all of the Avengers? Like, he's going to be imbued with Iron Man tech, with Doctor Strange magic. The black one with the gold on it is very reminiscent of Wakandan technology with what's his face? Not Black Panther. What's Killmonger's suit, right?
Yeah.
Killmonger had the black and gold suit.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Is that thing going to absorb energy and allow you to push it back out? I mean, they look cool, but I'm curious to see sort of like what is he going to be capable of? Because I mean, he's got his own God-given strengths just from being Spider-Man himself.
Don't forget the physical abilities of Steve Rogers and the spider theme of Black Widow. So we're running the gamut here with Avengers. I mean, you just need Spider-Man and you got all the Avengers besides maybe the Hulk in one character at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to jump. It's kind of looking. I mean, we have the toys showing us all the everything. The new suits and everything. It's always the toys first. They get in the pipeline because they got to manufacture, get out there. So it's always like the toys they got there first, like Boba Fett back in the day. I mean, even like the Black Widow stuff's been out for like since last year. The Shang-Chi figures and pop figures have been out for a bit now. So these should be hitting stores soon. So I'm excited. I'm excited to buy all the Spider-Man ones.
Yeah, but it's so weird because this movie comes out in December. And we've gotten nothing. And the first look we're getting of this film are these Funko Pops. And just from the sheer amount of speculation and news that we've gotten from this film, from anywhere from we're getting Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back, we're getting a version of the Sinister Six, we're getting all of these different things, and yet they're not hyping this movie up at all. It's almost like an afterthought to us. But these suits, I really hate that these are the first things to come out, because that was my main complaint from the last movie, that Spider-Man has too many suits. It's just the MCU nailed it right off the bat. Like this to me is the perfect Spider-Man suit. And
I agree.
One of the reasons why I didn't appreciate Far From Home the same way I did Homecoming is because, like, the whole theme of Homecoming is don't be an Avenger, be a kid, have a chance to have a childhood, be a friendly neighbor at Spider-Man. And then Far From Home, it's like, nah, you got to be the next Iron Man. Screw your childhood. We need you now. And it's just, and I don't think Spider-Man's ever really had a chance to be Spider-Man in the MCU. He's kind of just essentially he's always been the next Iron Man. And that's just, it's such a strange feeling, because that's not really Peter Parker in a sense. And then having him this early in his career, just having about like 20 different suits already, is just weird. And then we're involving magic in the sequel. Like if we're getting the things that if we're getting Dafoe back as Green Goblin, and we're getting Thomas Hayden Church back as Sandman, and we're getting Doctor Octopus and Electro, and we're gonna get a true Sinister Six and stuff like that. Like that stuff, I would be excited about. But this is kind of going in the opposite direction for me because I don't really need Spider-Man to use magic. I don't need him to shoot magic out of his web shooters. I kind of just want to see Peter Parker struggle. I want to see him get his ass kicked by the Sinister Six, and kind of have to use his own mind and his own wits to work his way out of scenarios. And in this one, he seems way too reliant on the tech and way too reliant on other things. And that's one part of the MCU Spider-Man I never really liked.
My fear is that the Sinister Six is going to be an afterthought. It's going to be some garnish to the rest of the film. And it's going to get into more of like multiverse and magic and whatnot. I hope I'm wrong. I very much do because I guess to your point, Monty, I think there's not a lot been hyped because there's just been a lot of rumor and they've been feeding off of that. Like it's just a lot of speculation, and I think Marvel's eating that up. That audiences have no idea what it is, and in the community, like the greater nerd community, like it's just speculation. And with Shang-Chi still to come out, like they still have to promote that, and they've been starting to. You've seen a little bit of Eternals, but again, and who knows what's going on between Sony and Marvel too, as far as how promotion, what deals are there as far as promotion. But yeah, it's a lot in the air. And going on a tangent, I have a question about Doctor Strange. Why is he wearing the Eye of Agamotto when the Time Stone is gone? Is it just bling that he likes to wear now? It's like, I like this. This looks cool. It's a fashion choice. I mean, I get the cape. It flies.
That probably is the type of thing Stephen Strange would do. He'd be like,
that's fair.
This looks nice.
100%.
Kind of going to what both you were saying, though, I think this is a little bit of a double-edged sword for the MCU in general. Part of, why people love the MCU so much is because, all of the stories sort of move towards this, single endpoint. But at the same time, I think that can be a detriment sometimes where when you're so focused on like moving into this sort of multiverse version, so between Loki and Doctor Strange and now apparently Spider-Man also, it's like everything, we have to somehow get this multiverse concept into every story that we tell now, where maybe if you just let just tell a more character-driven story about Spider-Man, it maybe works better for the character than trying to fit him into the grander plan, if you will.
Like, I think a character like Ant-Man actually would benefit from doing stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
going the Spider-Man route and like flipping how both franchises have done it. Let Spider-Man be Spider-Man, whereas I think they've let Ant-Man and Wasp kind of be their own thing for their first two films. I wish they would have kind of flipped the concepts. Sans Homecoming, of course. Like Homecoming I loved, but I wish we would have gotten more of a Spider-Man version of Ant-Man and the Wasp and Ant-Man and the Wasp version of Far From Home, if that makes any sort of sense. Because I think Ant-Man in dealing with the quantum realm fits much more naturally in this direction than Spider-Man does.
Definitely.
And that fits more into the arc of Scott and Hope, doesn't it? Because they're both kind of like, Hope was kind of resenting Scott for going off with the Avengers and not bringing her. And Scott was being included more as a part of the bigger hero community. So it makes sense for those two to have like a bigger role going forward in the MCU as a whole, as opposed to Peter Parker, who already learned the lesson in Homecoming. Like, hey, let's stay to Manhattan. Let's stay, small for a little bit. And next thing we know, like Nick Fury said, you've been to space. Like, you're not a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man anymore. And he's not wrong. So he's technically like the new Iron Man now. And that to me, it just feels so wrong for Peter.
Well, remember that technically wasn't Nick Fury either.
Oh, I'm sorry. Talos.
Yeah. Nick Fury's just chilling up in space, drinking a few.
On a sophisticated space beach.
Yeah. Just hanging out, just chilling, having a good time.
Sipping some bourbon.
Yeah, and like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of, and I know Zach, you weren't the biggest fan of Far From Home. So I'm hoping that this is of the same quality as Homecoming, because I adored Homecoming, and I thought Homecoming was such a great personal story. while also being a part of the bigger MCU as a whole. And I'm just hoping we get that again, even though with everything that they're saying, I'm hoping that they're able to still make this a Spider-Man story first and an MCU story second.
And I do want to talk about some things I'm looking forward to. I think we've not necessarily been negative, but just had some concerns, a lot more concern talk. I am actually very interested in the dynamic between Peter Parker and Stephen Strange. Like, I love the bit of exchange in Infinity War. It's like, oh, we're using our fake names. I'm Spider-Man. Like, just that bit, because they're both very smart, historically very intelligent characters. So I think Peter Parker can learn a lot from Stephen Strange in different aspects. I mean, I don't necessarily want to see magic, but just about being a hero or having this power and responsibility. Because Stephen Strange, I think, evokes, with great power comes great responsibility a lot in the MCU and in Marvel in general because of his Sorcerer Supreme status. He has this power and he has this responsibility to essentially be a magic warden. And he can at least impart some of that, I think, on Peter Parker now that Tony Stark's gone. So he might be kind of the new mentor going forward. I just hope it's not magic heavy.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way there. I really don't want too much magic in my Spider-Man movie. I kind of just want, like, oh, here's a reason for you to cross over with the other two Spider-Men because we want to deliver this big, huge Spider-Man movie that's a love letter to all the Spider-Men and Spider-Man in general. And that I'm really, like, if the rumors are true and we are getting Garfield and we are getting Maguire, then I am really excited to see what that can turn into in regards to a Spider-Man movie. Like, how have their Peters aged, and how can their growth as heroes and men influence our Peter, the MCU Peter. So that's something that I am excited for if we are getting it. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but that's where all roads are leading, apparently.
My big want is I want Raimi, J. Jonah Jameson, and MCU J. Jonah Jameson to interact somehow, just because I love that character and I love J.K. Simmons so much. I mean, like I said, I want it. Would it be good for the movie? Who knows? Probably not. But, in my fan fiction world, I would love to see those versions of the characters interact.
Yeah, no, that was the smartest decision they ever made. You cannot recast J. Jonah Jameson. J.K. Simmons did the perfect rendition of J. Jonah Jameson in the Raimi trilogy. So to bring him back as this newer version of the character is something I'm excited to see more of him in No Way Home, and I'm hoping we do see more of him because that was something like that end credit scene was huge, and that got me so hyped up for the next movie, just knowing that he would be in it as this character. So I do agree, Dan. I would love it if those two found a way to interact. That would be amazing.
And if they don't, just give me more J. Jonah Jameson one way or the other.
That's it. That's all we need. Zach, John, any final thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home?
Not much. This is going to be a wait and see for me. So not going to get too hyped or too down on it ahead of time.
One question for both of them. Despite the concerns about all the suits, do we think the suits look cool? Do we like the look of them?
I don't. I like the black one.
%.
I don't care for the one with all the gold on it. No. That feels a little bit out of place to me.
I mean, I love different Spider-Man suits. I mean, they're all cool. Like in the Spider-Man PS4 game and Miles Morales, unlocking all the suits, changing them out. I mean, it all look cool. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to see the different designs. So I'm hoping they just look cool and have different unique features that can help.
I like the Civil War suit. Sort of like base level.
Yeah, their version of the original Spider-Man suit. I think that is by far the best one. I don't even mind the black and red one, the upgraded suit that he gets at the end of Far From Home, just because it's his spin on it. That's the first suit that he really made, his first version of a Stark suit. So I don't mind that. But
I mean, what about the ski mask Far From Home?
Yeah.
I mean,
You know,
The flying.
You know,
I mean,
monkey,
come on. I
whatever.
mean, even like, look, come on, look how cool. I mean, this is like the original one from the Spider-Man PS4 game. That's cool. So I mean, I'm all down for more suits. Let's
I
go.
You know
see
what?
myself. in
I
your-
will give you credit, John. They made me love that suit. I did not like that suit at first. When they released the game, I was not really sold on the suit. I thought it was too much white. I thought it looked bad. But seeing it in motion and playing the game and falling in love with Peter in the game universe, the PS4 game universe, I really came to love that suit, and that's the suit I ended up using the most when I played the game. So, you know what? I will give you credit for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on from here, our last topic is, unfortunately, before the show started, we learned that Richard Donner had passed away at 91 years old. Richard Donner, of course, directing Superman the movie, Superman 2, the Donner cut anyway, and such hits as Lethal Weapon, and he's responsible for producing so many movies in Marvel and just the superhero genre entirely. He's basically like a godfather of this genre. And I kind of just want to take a minute to talk about the impact of Superman the movie and how that really shaped the modern comic book era, because you have guys like Kevin Feige writing these big statements in regards to his passing, saying that, you know, how supportive him and his wife were throughout the entire starting of the MCU, and if it wasn't for them, he wouldn't have the confidence, to like do the things that he's doing today. So I just want, like, do you guys have any like memories of Superman the movie? Like, any thoughts about Richard Donner? Any other Donner films that really jump out at you guys?
I feel bad for saying it, but I've actually never seen Superman or Superman 2. Obviously, they seem to be fairly beloved, and obviously people in the comic book genre, they were kind of revolutionary, but I have never seen them. Maybe I will.
They were movies I always respected. I was always more of a Batman kid than I was a Superman kid growing up. So I certainly have watched the films, but it wasn't ones I watched on repeat like I had other superhero films. But to his credit, when watching the other Superman movies, whether it was Returns, Batman vs Superman, or like so on and so forth, or Man of Steel, you see the influence he's had in all of them. Granted, Superman's been a character for a long time, but as far as the films go, I think people will probably say Richard Donner has more of an influence on the film version of Superman than even the comic book versions have had. I think the Lex Luthors we've gotten stem from Gene Hackman's version. I think every Superman tries to live up to the version we got in 1 and 2. And it's hard to say. And the score itself, every Superman movie, we always get snippets of the score, John Williams' score with that Superman theme going forward. So to say, while they've never been my favorite Superman films, easily I've always respected them for how they've influenced not only Superman, but probably all superhero films down the line since they were created.
Yeah, to me, the Superman the movie it holds a special place in my heart. To me, it is a quintessential superhero movie. It is very in line of what the comics were at that time, and it always puts a smile on my face. It has such a way of translating the comic books to film, and he really, like, the tagline for that film was "You'll believe a man could fly," and you really did. And him and Christopher Reeves, they built this legacy with that movie that really lasts to this day. I mean, there's Reeves' Superman is considered probably still the greatest by most people. And it's because of these movies, because Richard Donner was able to find that character and was able to express that character on screen. And, there was a lot of great things in that film that they ended up taking and putting them in the comics, like Pa Kent's death, his death of a heart attack, and Clark learning that he can't save everyone from the tragic death of his father. That these are events that they take from this movie and that they use. So it definitely has had a lasting impact, not just on the world of cinema, but on the comic book genre in general. And Richard Donner was definitely a huge part of that. And I can't talk about how much I love this movie enough. It was just a great film, and I think that everyone should really see it. It should definitely be a superhero film that everyone gets a chance to see, because it was essentially the father of the modern superhero film. It was the film that started it all, really. And I just want to thank him for his impact to the genre and the community.
One thing that I think goes unnoticed with him is his ability to direct humor too. While Superman, I wouldn't say by any means was a comedy. Like you look at like Lethal Weapon or one of my all-time favorites, Maverick, which he directed. Like man knew how to direct humor too. And I think especially with what we see in the MCU, the ability to inject humor along with the grittiness and the connectivity. I think that all stems from people have taken influence from Richard Donner for all those aspects, being able to be both light and serious and connected and have connective tissue, all stem from what Richard Donner did with these Superman films.
Absolutely. Zach, John, any final thoughts on Richard Donner?
I was just gonna say, I remember having the VHS as a kid, watching it when I was a kid. I haven't gone back to it in years, but I do remember. Obviously, if you look at even the cast, there's Gene Hackman, Terrence Stamp, Marlon Brando. Big name actors who are very well respected, and that's sort of what we now see in the modern like MCU films and other the DC other comic book films. These big name actors, like Glenn Close in Guardians of the Galaxy. Right? Isn't it Glenn Close? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. And just, it's showing up in a Marvel movie kind of thing. So it's definitely, everyone wants to be part of these big movements, these big cinematic, cool films. At the time, obviously, Superman, very, very major film for 1978, being, along the same times as Star Wars coming out, Jaws, in that era of time of movies that were doing different things that you didn't see before. So definitely a lasting legacy. Obviously, mentioned Lethal Weapon, Scrooged, Goonies, even the Omen, I believe, and even other stuff that I just produced on it. Was an executive producer on. There's an X-Men film, which I believe Alan Smithy mentioned earlier in the chat.
Yes,
and also Origins Wolverine. But definitely was just around. Still hasn't done anything in a while in terms of directing since 16 Blocks, which was like 15 years ago. But obviously involved in very many projects, a very well-respected filmmaker. As you can see, if I'm just scrolling through Twitter and just seeing so many people that he influenced, just fans, just remembering, just falling in love with Superman.
Absolutely. And then that's where my love of Richard Donner started. I'm a big fan of Lethal Weapon franchise. Goonies is a great coming-of-age story. But for me, I'll always remember him as the man who started it all with Superman the movie. And on that note, I think that's going to be it for Views from the MontyVerse, Volume 2. Dan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at dhouse77, and I also stream tabletop RPG games every now and then on Twitch at McStabber Studios.
John, where can the people find you?
You can find me whenever we hang out with the family, which who knows when that's going to be again. And then other random places on the internet too that I pop up on every now and then.
All right, Zach.
Well, you can find me here at Views on the Views from the MontyVerse, and you can find me also on the family show on the Schmo Me the Money channel. The Fast and Furious version of that show has wrapped with our past episode on Thursday, but it will be starting again at some point soon, where we'll be covering the Step Up franchise. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, now wait. Oh boy, how exciting. And of course, you can find me here on the MontyVerse YouTube channel. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the MontyVerse. We have our Loki breakdowns. We have a Black Widow review coming up, Taskmaster video, and a bunch of other things coming your way this week. So be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell because we have a lot of stuff coming at you. And until next time, guys, we will all catch you later.